Prince William wants a great reset. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because we'll be talking about Prince William and his support, like his father, for the Great Reset, everyone. Now, if you're not familiar with the Great Reset, this is coming from the World Economic Forum and all of the, great leaders and betters in Davos. Now, this is the article that we'll be looking at from Independent. But first off, we should look at the terrifying predictions from the World Economic Forum for 2030. Only 8 years away. 9 years? 9 years. Yes, 9 years. I'm getting confused. Let's have a look at this video. And I will just bring this up and make sure, I'm just checking the audio, we won't get a double here. So here we go. Nope, wrong one. There we go. So 8 predictions for the world in 2030. Now I've had to mute the music here. Now this is number 1, the one that everyone loves, that is becoming a meme now. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Now I hope this is a move where people are becoming less materialistic, or probably an argument that more people will just simply rent things and not own them. Even now, my software that I use as an architect, I've got the like the super duper Revit suite with all of these other packages. It cost me like 10 grand back in the day, and then you have to pay a yearly renewal fee to get the latest version. And I got sick of paying that every couple of years because I had 5 licenses. We had a decent sized team, so that would cost a lot every year. And now I can just rent it when I need it. I still have my perpetual licenses, but they don't sell them anymore. It's like the Time magazine. When it first came out, you could buy a lifetime license. You can't get that anymore. So times are changing. In some regards, I don't have an issue with that. But my problem is people living a subscription life and you don't really own anything. Do you appreciate anything then as well? And will you really be happy? Like this guy. Whatever you want, you'll rent, and it will be delivered by drone. Remember, these are their predictions for the world in 2030. So that's going to be a lot of delivery drivers that will be out of work. Number 2, the US won't be the world's leading superpower. A handful of countries will dominate. So, well, is that it? That's it? Okay, a handful of countries will dominate the world. We'll have to see what happens there. It looks like the US dollar, will it remain the world reserve currency? That's the big test that we're going to see. Number 3, you won't die waiting for an organ donor. They'll 3D, we won't transport organs, we'll print new ones instead. Okay. And here's the funny one. They'll print organs for you, but they don't want you to eat meat. And meat is the healthiest food you can have. I don't care what anyone tells you or what you read. You'll find out in a few years once the government catches up that it really is. The old ways were the best ways. An occasional treat, not a staple, for the good of the environment and our health. Now that's complete bunk. It's been debunked. One of the best ways to eat for the environment is not monoculture or monocrop, well, a monoculture crop that just plows and broadacre, soy and other garbage like that and staples. It's eating pasture-fed animals. And just pay extra to get them. And it's better for the environment too. But we'll see. I mean, just look at our heart disease. Look at the rate of diabetes right now. Look at what the Egyptians had and what they ate. They weren't, like the buff Greek statues, guys. The realistic representations of them. They had beer bellies and they had diabetes. Number 5. 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. Well, I think 1 billion people are going to be displaced by political turmoil. Here's the issue, guys. You've got this strange narrative where people are worried about climate change, our impact on the climate. Then they want to, then they're the same people that are advocating for complete open borders and people flooding from lower impact countries to higher impact countries and displacing the populations and increasing their carbon impact. But that's never mentioned. It's probably no words. We have to do a better job of welcoming and integrating refugees. Well, no, that's right. Integration, even for migrants, is an important thing. I am a descendant of one of the largest and most successful migrant groups around the world. Yeah. The good old Germans. Just look at America. They're the biggest minority there. Could you tell? My father learned English on the boat over here. It wasn't an issue. Number 6. Polluters will have to pay to emit carbon dioxide. This is the concern, and we'll look at it in another video today where the IMF are calling for more taxation. Because taxes are always the solution, enslaving more and more of the work that you have to do under force, under threat of jail or fines or other punishments. That's the solution to all the world's problems. It never has been. Never, ever throughout all of human history. But our habits don't change. Though our betters think, that we need to serve them. Serve their environmental gods this time. There will be a global price on carbon. This will help make fossil fuels history. That's artificially intervening in the market, everyone. It's gonna drive up the cost of everything. It will reduce your quality of life, but they don't care. We could be preparing to go to Mars. Yeah, we're fleeing Mars to get away from all the horrific rules and taxation that are here on Earth. We'll see. Western values will have been tested to the breaking point. Well, I would argue in some regards, Western culture and civilization is in, a declining phase at the moment. It's tearing itself apart. I mean, how long do empires last? A couple hundred years? 500 years at most? Checks and balances that underpin our democracies must not be forgotten. It's quite funny that they're saying this is a few years old now, this video, and just look at what's happened in the US. I mean, there's all this outrage about having voter ID. To an Australian, it seems utterly stupid. If you're not capable enough, if you don't have the capacity to function well enough in a society to go to a DMV or anywhere just to get identification, why should your opinion politically matter? Maybe that's the minimum bar, that you have the intellect and the capacity to go and get a license. That is not setting it very high. We're not talking about land ownership here. We're not talking about only certain groups in society having a say. We're talking about a minimum level of competence. If you can't demonstrate that, maybe your opinion isn't important. And that would perhaps address a lot of the problems we have these days. What do you think about that one? I'll have a shot of coffee while you leave your comments below. And I think that's the last one. Yes, yep, there you go. So those are the 8 predictions from the World Economic Forum, everyone, just to give you a bit of a reminder about what that is. So now we'll have a look at Prince William advocating for the Great Reset, or a Great Reset, particularly with nature. It's always with nature. Remember, it all sounds so good. And we've seen just his brother, leaving the royal family. And I honestly, I don't follow it that much. I'm not that interested. I'm probably, what I would consider a normal male in Australia. I don't know how many guys are excited about the royal family. Maybe, let me know in the comments. But all of this is just screaming Republic to me. What would you want? Would you want, King Charles? Prince Charles? So let's have a look at what the Prince William is saying and advocating again for the Great Reset. Hang on.
If we do not act decisively in the next 10 years, we will cause irreversible damage to our planet.
Now, do you hear that? He's put a time bar on it, and this is obviously from independent TV. The next 10 years. Remember when it was 2 years? Remember when Al Gore was traveling the world and telling us that, we're running out of time, the ice caps will melt. This is all about fear. This is doomsday prophecy. They're trying to put fear on you to really, take away more of your work. That's what it's going to be. You're going to be paying more taxes. That'll be the only bloody difference. Low quality of life, more taxes. Greta will be happy.
This damage will not be felt equally by everyone. It is.
Oh, he's right there. It won't. The intervention into the economy to mitigate this is not going to be felt equally by everyone. Normal people are going to cop it. He wouldn't even notice it.
The most vulnerable, those with the fewest resources, and those who have done the least to cause climate change.
Yeah, I'm sure all the elites traveling all over to Davos in their private jets, and they'll make a real difference. They'll really feel it. No, they won't.
who will continue to be impacted the most. But rather than being despondent about these challenges, let us instead take our lead from the many millions of young people around the world.
So the least experienced people around the world, the most susceptible to media manipulation and fear, we should use them. Now, they've been used in the past. Look in Germany, when they had the uprisings there and the Nights of Terror. It was the young people, everyone. Look at China. Look at the Cultural Revolution, or all the students and the shamings that they had there. It's the young. They can be manipulated. They don't have enough experience. I know when I was younger, I was afraid of the environment and all of these things. And then at university, when I started to actually look at the concept of embodied energy, and all of these arguments, because we had some really hippie professors in architecture, guys. When I looked at all of that, I really started to see through the veneer that they were putting forward. I saw a lot of the arguments they put forward were ideologically motivated and were biased. They didn't see and appreciate the bigger picture, or the fact that sometimes the solution, doing something for the greater good, as you say, making a sacrifice for the greater good, or to send the right message, isn't the best thing to do.
Who have made this cause their own and say that enough is enough. All of us, across all sectors of society and in every corner of the globe, must come together to fundamentally reset our relationship.
There it is. To fundamentally reset our relationship
with nature and our trajectory
with nature. There's more green environment on the earth than it has ever been in particular time. People have this fantasy, particularly in Europe, that it used to be just some crazy wild world in medieval times. All the forests were farmed. They were used. They were resources.
As a species, I truly believe that humans have an extraordinary capacity to set goals and strive to achieve them. The remarkable development of the COVID-19 vaccine in record time is a case in point.
So there we go. I mean, he's following in his father's footsteps, and we will see that. So here we go. Let's have a look at this article. The Duke of Cambridge has said that people need to completely reset their relationship with nature if we are to avert a climate disaster. Haven't we heard this all before? Now, I know there may be some of you watching that completely agree with him. Maybe you're a little bit younger than me. But trust me, when you get a little bit older, you'll start to see through all this BS. You'll start to see the same things again and again. This is just going to be used for putting more power and control in the hands of the elites, in the hands of the Davos crowd, more crony capitalism, more intervention in our lives. Your cost of living is going to be mitigated. They want to move away from laissez-faire free market capitalism, which really doesn't exist that often in the world. It's disappearing every day, to more control in the hands of the elite. We're going to be in another global fiefdom where we'll all be serving our houses, guys, and having even less say. Speaking in a video message which was played at a gala. See, that just shows you how removed a lot of these people are from the average Joe, guys. Going to a gala. When's the last time you went to a gala, guys? On Saturday for the charity Conservation International. I've gone to some of these events. Like, I've gone to a property council event, and they had this charity and auctions and all this stuff for White Ribbon or some of these other charities, and it is such a crock, guys. It is so much money wasted to achieve so little, and just people pompously patting themselves on the back and feeling like they're making a difference. The same thing with Rotary. I was in a Rotary club. Bunch of really nice guys. It just was a social club for them, really. Wanting to chat and have lunches, but it wasn't doing anything. They'd be raising a couple of $100, but they'd spend tens of thousands of dollars a year having lunches. That's the way it is. Prince William urged people to act soon in order to make change before it's too late. That's, again, time bar. Fear. Guys, this is all designed to manipulate you. And here's the question for those of us watching. How do we ensure the younger generations don't fall for this, don't get suckered into it? You look at the generation extinction. I was arguing with a guy at the tip. He was talking about GE, just put it in front of Council Hall and go, oh, a bunch of unemployed or spoiled rich kids, they got no idea, and he kind of was taken a bit aback. So look at how they're funded, mate. How do we reach them? For me, it was actually studying the The fundamentals, looking at the concepts of embodied energy, that really made me start questioning these things. And that was in architectural school, realizing, okay, trucking a windmill from one side of the planet to the other may not be the smartest thing because of all the energy used to manufacture it, mine it, transport it. Then when you install it, you're going to disrupt farmland, and you're going to have to clear forest to build it there. Then you're also going to have to clear forest, all the growth forest like in Tasmania for power transmission lines. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. That's when I realized a lot of this was just political. It was just working on fear. Before it's too late, everyone. Just pay this tax, guys, and it'll all be good. Pay another tax. Just wait. That's what it's going to be. It's more control. And remember, all taxes are, fundamentally, it's your forced work. You are forced to work for the state. You are forced to work for good old King William. Okay? One way or another. So, all of us, across all sectors of society and in every corner of the globe, must come together to fundamentally reset our relationship with nature and our trajectory as a species, he said. Well, yes, I would argue we need to move away from this standard American diet that is absorbing so many people, that is destroying cultures around the world, that is creating disease. This whole culture of trying to treat, rather than getting people on a better diet, which is meat-based as traditional and high in fat, people are avoiding that, joining crazy cults and eating garbage, and we're wondering why everyone's pre-diabetic and we're dying horribly. But I can't see them going down that path somehow. I truly believe that humans have an extraordinary capacity to set goals and strive to achieve them. Prince William went on to discuss how people can make major contributions to society, referencing the vaccine. He just made one statement to it in passing. The remarkable development of the vaccine in record time is a case in point, he said. Well, we'll have to see how that plays out, everyone. That's the problem. Rapid development of medication can be quite scary to a lot of people. I'm not at all worried that they're taking their time here in Australia through competence or incompetence. Prince William added that vulnerable people who have done the least to cause climate change would be the most affected by it. The Duke went on to discuss his newly launched Earthshot Prize, which was created as a way to encourage people to come up with ways of combating the climate crisis. Well, there you go, guys. Maybe we should enter. The prize revolves around calling for action on 5 goals in the next 10 years, which are protect and restore nature, fight air pollution, revive the oceans, build a waste-free world, and fix the climate. We want to find the brightest minds and boldest ideas that help us achieve these Earthshots, he said. But it will require our collective energy, determination, and optimism to get there. Well, if you want to make a big impact, increase the use of nuclear energy. That will reduce the carbon in the atmosphere, or carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. You know what they'll do then? They'll have to start pumping it out in 100 or 2 years because the greenhouse effect will go backwards. I think that was a Arthur C. Clarke prediction. So, like father, like son, Prince Charles is no different. And this is from Charles at the World Economic Forum, everyone. And I thought we would have a look at what he was saying at the WEF, everyone, and maybe encourage more people to consider the Republican movement here in Australia because, frankly, it's shifted me this way.
Caroline, thank you very much indeed for your kind words. I think I have a feeling it's about 38 years now, probably, or something like that I've been trying. But these are unprecedented times. Every person on the planet has been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. Our world came to a standstill, and it became clear that we did not have the answer or the mechanisms to address such an unprecedented global threat. The threats posed by this dreadful pandemic came upon us suddenly with very little warning. The threat of climate change has been more gradual.
Now, here's the thing you've got to realize, everyone. The human impact on the environment is a much slower moving disaster than others. I have supreme confidence in the ability of humanity to reach and overcome these obstacles as they have in the past. I would encourage you know what, I will bring up the Copenhagen, if you haven't looked at it, Copenhagen Consensus. The Copenhagen Consensus, and I'll bring that up here. I would encourage you to have a look at this. everyone. Look at some of the proposals and suggestions they're putting forward. Because here's the thing. We only have limited resources. Deploying them all in taxations and highfalutin projects to try and mitigate climate change may not be the best use of our resources. It will cost phenomenal amounts of money. It will derive significant resources to try and mitigate this, which will have a limited impact in 100 years' time when there are other more pressing issues. Think of it. It's no different to here in Australia, all of the resources that have been pushed towards housing. We've got a housing bubble here. No one can argue against that. The affordability is ludicrous. It is increasing the divide from those that have and those that do not. It is going to be a multi-generational issue because our investment has been diverted to housing because there are more incentives to get in there. It is less stressful, less painful than investing in other businesses. And now we're starting to reap the consequences of that that intervention in the market that has resulted in an unnatural division of resources to this one sector, one part of our economy. That's no different to what they're calling for here over the long term. We may not experience the consequences of it. Well, we will, but not as badly as future generations will. They may think they're doing the right thing to save the environment. It's gonna come and bite them back. Just like our housing bubble here. There'll be unintended consequences in 100 years' time.
But it's devastating reality for many people and their livelihoods around the world, and its ever greater potential to disrupt surpasses even that of COVID-19. In addition to COVID-19, over the last few decades, we have seen bird flu, swine flu, Ebola,
Now, notice how he's referring to all of these previous illnesses that we've had come out, and there were concerns. Now, I'm going to look at this and refer to a video because disease mitigation. In this video, here we go. Disease mitigation, D.A. Henderson. In this video, I look at disease mitigation measures from the perspective of famous epidemiologist Dr. Donald Henderson. Now, the reason why he's important is he is referring to all of these illnesses that good old Charlie's referring to now. And they were calling out against these strict and insane, in many regards, interventions into the economy to mitigate the illness, because the argument they made that the economic consequences and other unintended consequences would be greater than the benefit resulting from it. Henderson's case, and based on his success in eradicating other illnesses, was to argue for vaccination. That was what his argument was for, not lockdowns. So it's quite interesting. If you haven't looked at that video on my channel, I suggest you have a look, guys. 7 months ago now.
SARS, which are all zoonotic diseases originating in animals. More than half of all pathogens affecting humans come from animals. Changing the relationship between wild, domestic, and human animals makes pandemics more likely, which is why we need to restore balance with the natural world through decisive action on climate change and restoring biodiversity.
There you go. But you'll see, particularly a lot of the World Economic Forums, they do a lot of push for this manufactured artificial meat garbage to try and, help the planet. Probably because a lot of them have invested in it. And it just results in monocultural crops, huge clearing, and then the destruction of animals and the harvesting of it. It's nuts.
If we look at the planet as if it were a patient, we can see that our activities have been damaging her immune system, and she has been struggling to function and thrive due to the strain we have put on her vital organ. To treat her, we need to restore balance and put nature back at the center of the circle.
He's referring to a argument from the WEF there, and for Klaus Schwab.
And to achieve this, we must act for health and well-being, understand nature's patterns and cycles, recognize the value of diversity, unity, and the interdependence of all living things, consider the importance of innovation and adaptation, and invest in nature-based solutions to help stimulate a more circular bioeconomy that gives back to nature as much as we take from her. Now, I can only hope that as this current crisis passes, we are
Oh, hang on, what's going on there? Wait.
able to reflect on and shape the type of world we want for ourselves and for future generations. The 75 years after the Second World War saw unprecedented growth, rising longevity and poverty reductions. But all this put an overwhelming strain on our environment. The good news is that we have many of the solutions to hand. Renewable energy is now cheaper than fossil fuels. Our agriculture and land use can be more resilient, healthy and productive if we do not degrade our land, destroy our forests, and poison our water. Unfortunately, we so often forget that we are profoundly dependent on nature for our lives and livelihood. So, how do we balance the need to rebuild economic prosperity, the need to get people back to work against environmental concerns? Investing sustainably now can be a fast, efficient, and attractive way to reboot our economy. Therefore, what should be the principles that underlie the reshaping of a new and better global economic system? To seize this window of opportunity, I believe we need to do 5 things. First of all, to create momentum for the Great Reset, we need...
There you go. I mean, momentum for the Great Reset, and you'll see more and more of that come around and be out in the media.
To capture the imagination and will of humanity. We will only change if we really want to change. Secondly, the global economic recovery must set us on a new trajectory of sustainable employment, of livelihoods and economic growth. To achieve scale, we must not be afraid to reorientate our long-standing incentive structures, which have been having such perverse effects on our planetary environment and on nature herself, if we are to reap the benefits afforded by a more sustainable world. Thirdly, we must redesign systems and pathways to advance net zero transitions globally. And in this regard, carbon pricing can form a critical pathway to genuinely sustainable markets.
There you go. More and more calls for taxation, everyone. Taxation, 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 reduction in your quality of life. And I've captured this, I've taken this from a live stream I did sometime, and you can see that I was just pausing and going off about taxation too back then. It's the same story again and again and again, guys. Taxes are the solution to us. It's going to save the world, guys. Just slave away a little bit more for the state.
This reset moment is our opportunity to accelerate and align our efforts to create truly global momentum. Countries, industries, and businesses moving together can create efficiencies and economies of scale that will allow us to leapfrog our collective progress and accelerate our transition. Fourthly, we must reinvigorate science, technology, and innovation. This crisis has shown the importance of investing in science, technology, and innovation. We are on the verge of catalytic breakthroughs that will alter our view of what is possible and profitable within the framework of a sustainable future. And fifthly, we must rebalance investment. Accelerating sustainable investment could offer significant economic growth and employment.
But the economic growth is often at the cost of other parts of the economy. This is the problem. You've got people demolishing perfectly good coal power plants, power going up for the average consumer, and then tax subsidies going into sustainable projects where it's manufactured on the other side of the planet and only has a fraction of the local workforce employed. So, okay, this is the thing. Whenever they talk about, the politicians, whenever they talk about jobs created, they haven't taken off the jobs that are lost. You can understand why.
Opportunities, including in green energy, the regeneration of nature, and landscapes, circular bioeconomy, ecotourism, and green public
ecotourism. I wonder how long till we'll see that again here in Australia.
Infrastructure. It is time, therefore, to align sustainable solutions with funding in a way that can transform the marketplace. This would be the most dramatic act of responsible leadership ever seen by the global private sector, and would at once provide a catalytic incentive for the public sector to follow. We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change, and global crises like pandemics and climate change know no borders and highlight just how interdependent we are as one people sharing one planet. Over the past month or so, despite the ongoing crisis, I've been encouraged to see the growing calls for a green recovery. We need only look to the United Nations Secretary General, to the IMF, the EU, the Petersburg Climate Dialogue, the Canadian Government, the COP26 Universities Network, and business leaders around the world to see this. And as we move from rescue to recovery, therefore, we have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal.
Never waste a good opportunity, everyone. Sounds familiar? Never waste a good crisis.
Knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play. Everything I've tried to do and urge over the past 50 years has been done with our children and grandchildren in mind. So I can only encourage us all to think big and act now.
So there we have it, everyone. That's Prince Charles and his calls for the Great Reset to the World Economic Forum. You can see his son is definitely following in his footsteps, everyone, as well. So what about some solutions? What suggestions can we have here? What can us as small, normal, we're not part of the elite, we're just normal people do? And I would say it's very simple. Discuss the Great Reset. Demonstrate that your concern of it isn't just fringe elements or nutters. Talk to other people going, this may sound like a conspiracy theory, but this is what leaders are putting forward. This is what politicians are putting forward. The One Nation tried to get a motion condemning the Great Reset. It didn't get through Parliament because our politicians, well, they want to secure relationships. How many of them go from one organization to another? How many people on the IMF are involved in this? This is the people that are networking together, that have relationships together. So you need to simply discuss it with your friends, with your family. Don't sound like a tinfoil hat nutcase, guys. You want to sound like a reasonable person, so more and more people can show their concern about this and simply highlight it to our political leaders and hopefully make a difference. The concern is that it's the bureaucratic class that will be influenced by all of this, that are reading the works of this, that are invited to the forums and to the talks, that will have a say, and that will shape our culture. I mean, you can see that coming through. A lot of these, particularly from United Nations, a lot of these things are driving down through the civil service, and they're manifesting at local levels and council levels. The politicians change all the time. The bureaucrats don't. So this would be my takeaway to this, is to keep discussing it, to talk to it like you're a normal person, and to raise your legitimate and sensible concerns to these drastic interventions in our economy, in our quality of life, and frankly, it just feels like another bloody tax grab. So what do you all think, everyone? Thank you for joining me for this episode of Heise Says. Discuss the Great Reset, let your friends know about it, and let them know that normal people are worried about it as well. As always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links on Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.